For next set of exercises, we'll be using our props if needed. If you've got a tight hamstrings, just sit on the edge of the blanket to ease out the pressure. If you've got a tight hips, use blocks or a bolster to support our hips. Sitting on the edge of the cushion or directly on the mat in Dandasana, we bend our right leg and place our foot onto the mat. There is a connection in between left inner thigh and your right foot. As I mentioned, if you are tight in your hips, just use block, which you place just outside of your mat. Dropping your knee on a block or directly onto a mat. On the inhalation, raising our arms up. On the exhalation, folding over our left leg, placing our hands on our shin, ankle, grabbing our foot, or using our belt as the extension of our arm. Staying for 5 Ujjayi breaths. On the next inhalation, raising your arms up. On the exhalation, placing your feet along the mat. Swapping sides. If you were using block on right hand side, please use the same on the left. Bending your left leg, placing your left foot in connection with your right inner thigh. Dropping the knee to the side onto your block or directly onto a mat. On the inhalation, raising our arms up, lengthening. On the exhalation, bending over our left leg, placing our hands on our shin, ankles, or grabbing our foot, or using our belt as the extension of our arms, staying for 5 Ujjayi breaths. On the next inhalation, raising your arms up. On the next exhalation, placing your legs along the mat, sitting in Dandasana. If you were using blanket for this exercise, you might use it for the next as well. Sitting back in Dandasana, bending your right leg, placing a foot along the mat. This time around about a fist distance from your left inner thigh. So there is a space in between your foot and your thigh. On the inhalation, please don't forget to place your belt just behind you in case you need to grab it as the extension of your arms. On the inhalation, raising your arms up. On the exhalation, we can bend over our left leg, placing our hands onto shin, ankles, or grabbing our foot. Or we can wrap around our right arm If you watch me, I'll demonstrate. Along our right shin, joining the bind at the back, or grabbing a belt as the extension of our arms. On the inhalation, lengthen. On the exhalation, bend over your left leg, staying for 5 deep breaths here. On the next inhalation, lengthen, coming up to the center. On the exhalation, placing your feet along the mat in Tadasana, Dandasana. Swapping sides. Sitting in Dandasana, bending your left leg, placing your left foot a fist distance apart from your right inner thigh. On the inhalation, raising up, lengthening, other than keeping our hands on our shin, ankle, grabbing our foot, folding over our right leg, or wrapping our left arm over our left shin, grabbing the belt at the back, or binding. On the inhale, lengthen. On the exhale, folding over your right leg, staying for 5 Ujjayi breaths. Ujjayi breath is a yogic breath where we slightly constrain the back of our throat to create this ocean sound, and we try to equal inhalation with our exhalations. On the next inhalation, coming up to center. On the exhale, placing your legs along the mat in Dandasana. Placing your right foot along the mat. This time around there is a connection in between your right foot and a left inner thigh. On the inhalation, raising your right hand up, arm up, and placing it directly behind your back. On the next inhale, raising your left arm up, and placing your elbow in connection with your right outer knee. Staying in this deep twist for 5 breaths. With each inhalation, we lengthen a little bit more. With each exhalation, we try to move into this twist deeper. Another option is you move your leg onto the side and grabbing your bind, you stay in this twist for 5 Ujjayi breaths. Your point of drishti is over your left shoulder. If you can breathe in your twist, please don't go that far, even a little bit too far if you can't breathe. On the next inhalation, coming back to center. On the next exhalation, placing your feet along the mat. Placing your left foot onto a mat in connection with your inner right thigh. On the inhalation, raising your left arm up, placing it directly behind your back. On the next inhale, raising your right arm up and placing your right elbow just outside of your left knee. Staying in this deep twist for 5 Ujjayi breaths. Or if it's available to you, we wrap our right arm along our left leg and join the bind at the back. Your point of drishti or gaze is over your left shoulder. Staying for 5 Ujjayi breaths. On the inhalation, coming back to center. Exhale. On the exhale, placing your feet and legs, placing your legs along the mat. If you were using any props, please remove them for the next set of exercises. Sitting in Dandasana, we'll be moving through Vinyasa to our next set. Crossing your right shin over the left shin, placing your arms just ahead of you, stepping or jumping to plank, moving through half or full Chaturanga Dandasana into the upward facing dog, and on the exhale, downward facing dog. On the next inhalation, crossing your legs, jumping or stepping back to seated. Placing your both feet onto the mat. There is a connection in between your thighs and your belly. Lift it on the inhalation, lifting your legs up in a 90-degree parallel to the mat, supporting your thighs. Please hold your thighs like just past the knees. Never hold your legs in a knee bend. Holding your legs here or joining with arms, keeping the connection in between the thigh and your belly. We can also use a belt as the extension of our arms, or letting everything go, staying in a full Navasana for 5 Ujjayi breaths. On the next exhalation, crossing your left foot over the right foot, placing your hands just by your hips, lifting up and coming for the second set. Other than we keep holding our thighs, or we joining with our arms, or we use our belt, or we just stay with the extended legs for 5 breaths. There is a really importance in keeping your lower back straight and keeping the connection in between your thighs and your belly. As the adjustment, if anyone is in a full posture, I would place their feet on my thighs, grabbing their arms just past their wrists, gently lifting them up a little bit more to establish a better connection with the thighs and the belly, lifting them up. After the 5 breaths, crossing your right leg over the left, placing your hands just by your seat bones, lifting up and coming back to the mat. Joining your feet together, creating a diamond shape with your legs. On the inhalation, once again, if you are tight in your hips, please use the blocks on each side for support, or you can even use bolsters on each side. Or just make the diamond shape much wider. On the inhalation, lengthen your spine. On the exhalation, bend over your feet. If you are in a deep bend and you are quite flexible, you can apply a slight pressure with your upper arms against your shins, keeping our spine nice and long. Staying for 5 Ujjayi breaths. As you might have heard, in yoga, we do talk often about chakras. Chakras are basically the energy centers in our body. The main energy centers or chakras are located just along our spine, from the base of our spine, where the coccyx is, all the way to the top of our head. We've got 7 main chakras. And we'll be talking about every single of them throughout our classes. The aim of yoga is to keep your chakras connected, open and balanced in order to be receptive and to be feeling all the benefits of yoga to our bodies. The chakras itself, there is an interpretation of them as spinning discs of energy that should stay open and aligned and balanced in order for our energy flow, which is called nadis, to freely flow throughout our body. On the inhalation, coming up to center, and then on the exhalation, placing our feet along the mat in Dandasana. Spreading your legs nice and wide. On the inhalation, raising our arms up. On the exhalation, placing our hands other than ahead of us, clawing the mat, trying to move a little bit, chest a little bit closer to the floor, or placing our hands on our shins, ankles, or toes, grabbing our toes with our two piece and index and middle finger, folding over, staying for 5 Ujjayi breaths. On the next inhalation, raising up, and on the next exhalation, joining your feet together in Dandasana. For the next couple of postures, please watch me to demonstrate. They are quite demanding postures. Watch me to demonstrate first, then I will cue you to try it yourself. There are few options available for you to choose from. We'll be moving to Vashisthasana, side plank. For anyone who suffers with wrist issues, there is an option for you. So we'll be starting from other than tabletop position or from a plank. So for whoever suffers with wrist issues, please use your forearm to ease out the pressure. So for anyone with the wrist issues, we drop our left arm down on our forearm, straightening our legs, coming into a side plank, raising your right arm above our shoulder. The gaze is again is at the top of your hand. The gaze is towards your thumb. Staying for 5 Ujjayi breaths. For anyone who suffers with shoulder issues, please stay on your knees. So we put our left knee down, moving your foot a little bit out to the side for the better stability. Raising your right arm up above the shoulder, your point of drishti is towards your thumb, staying for 5 breaths. Or we enter from the plank. Switching directly to left hand side, pressing your feet towards the mat, lifting your hips into one line with your body. Drishti is towards your right thumb, staying for 5 breaths. After 5 breaths, coming to plank or to tabletop, switching the sides directly to the other side. So if you, whatever you are doing on one side, please do the same on the other than dropping your forearm or keeping your knee down. Or entering it from a plank to a asana, right hand side. Point of drishti is always against your thumb. You try to pull yourself up from your wrist to ease it out, and you try to point your feet towards the butt, staying for 5 breaths. When the 5 breaths completed, just enter a child's pose for the rest. Placing our bolsters ahead of us, if you need it for a security reason. Otherwise, we'll be entering Bakasana, crow pose. Coming into your squat, placing your arms directly ahead of you, fingers are spread and engaged. It does remind us a bit of a crow's feet. Placing our knees directly in our armpits or hugging our shoulders. Point of your gaze is about a foot ahead of you. Trying to lift one foot each time, or slowly trying to lift both feet. Or if you are placing your knees onto your armpits, lifting up both feet simultaneously or each foot each time. This is a balancing posture. There is a lot of strength and a technique involved. Your shoulders should be going forward, passing actually your wrists. Please keep trying. This is a very, very difficult posture. After 5 breaths, we step or jump back to plank.